שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני. שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני. כל עבדי אדוני העומדים בבית אדוני בלילות. כל עבדי אדוני העומדים בבית אדוני בלילות. יברכך אדוני מציון עושה שמיים וארץ. שום ידיכם בבית אדוני וברכו את שמו. יברכך אדוני מציון עושה שמיים וארץ. שום ידיכם בבית אדוני וברכו את שמו. שום ידיכם קודש וברכו את אדוני. 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 כל עבדי אדוני עומדים בבית אדוני בלילות. כל עבדי אדוני עומדים בבית אדוני בלילות. יברכך אדוני מציון עושה שמיים וארץ. שום ידיכם בבית אדוני וברכו את שמו. יברכך אדוני מציון עושה שמיים וארץ. שום ידיכם בבית אדוני וברכו את שמו. שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני. שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני. שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני. שיר המעלות, הנה ברכו את אדוני.
Sing it to the Lord a new song, and He's prayed for me in the earth. You will go down to the sea. I know that He's there in the other realm, there in heaven. Isaiah 42:10 through 13.
There we go. Oh, it's so heavy. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at all those bananas.
Thanks again for joining us, all of you.
Let's close in.
And let's close the prayer.
Let them give glory to the Lord and declare His.
Shaloha. Hi, guys.
Hey, Shaloha. Good to see you guys. Noble is doing moderating in the chat already. So if you guys have prayer requests, please put them in the chat in all capital letters. Thank you so much to our moderators for coming in and doing all your hard work to keep us a very friendly chat and to address any questions or anything that come up in the chat and guide them to us, or you can answer them as well. Hi, Tammy, Sherry. I know the two of them are probably in there. Did you see anybody else in the chat?
Oh yeah, a lot of people on the chat.
Great to see you guys. We just had a
Yeah.
good reading as usual with Digital Readers Club. Today we read about the tabernacle. Were you listening to that?
A little bit.
Some of that? Yeah. And we brought up Andy Hoy's work. We actually have his, where's his stuff? We actually have both of Andy Hoy's books, his workbook and his teaching book. Highly recommend that if you are going to ever be teaching about the tabernacle to a group. It gives the best rendition of what the tabernacle would have looked like as opposed to what we've been taught in Sunday school and church. At least I was taught anyway. I mean, I remember when I was like 8 years old in a girls' Bible study group I used to be part of. Our whole focus was on the tabernacle and all the things that God commanded Solomon to make, like the laver, the dimensions of the tabernacle and everything. And to me, it never really made sense that they would just layer all of these really heavy materials on top of each other in this tiny little like shoebox model. And then when we visited Israel, it was even more obvious that there's no way that could have been the tabernacle for over 1 million people to worship the Most High in, because it made no sense. It was super windy. The thing would have blown over if they didn't have it tied down firmly to the ground. Do you remember that? It was like all hot and crowded to try to get in there, even with like 10 people. So a huge, gigantic dome where the smoke could go up like nicely through the middle made a lot more sense. Because the shoebox model, it would have just been like a fireplace, like coming right into the tent instead of going up in the middle to the
Well, on the flip side, God really only wanted Moshe to go in there, talk to him, and possibly Joshua hanging out by the front door. You know what I mean? But
and the Levites, right?
well, the Levites would be performing their duties outside the actual tabernacle, because that's where you had the altar, the brazen altar, the menorahs. I mean, the menorahs inside the table, showbread. It was small.
It was really
small
and hot. You remember how hot that was? It was so hot.
Yeah,
in
I
Israel.
think God would have created some natural air conditioning going on. That would have been nice.
Well, it would have been a lot cooler if it would have been the form like Andy Hoy said it, and he's an architect, so he would know.
I actually need to read it because he goes into a lot of the Hebrew. He actually started learning Hebrew. And so for those of you that are not Hebrew acquainted, he uses some Hebrew terms, and I think he explains himself clearly. It's just I want to actually read his book and go over what he discovered in his studies. So.
Yeah, because in the Legends of the Jews published by Sacred Root Publishing, for those of you who have that paper copy, Zen even put like a picture of Andy Hoy's rendition of the tabernacle in there that's on the front of his books. And I remember when Zen interviewed him, Rob interviewed him, it was just, to me, that was from the God Culture on today, as they usually come on with us every first Saturday of the month. They do have their daughter visiting them, a surprise visit from the U.S., and so this is her last day with them, and so I said, no, she's more important. You spend time with her, and we'll see you guys next month. So, but we will be presenting today using some of their material. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that a lot of this stuff is not things that we came up with, but we're using their material from some of their books. And
well, Lisa's teaching today. She's in the seat of Moses right now. So
I'm in the seat of Moses.
Yeah, is that allowed for a woman to sit in the seat of Moses?
You want to sit here instead, and I'll
maybe Isaiah can check it out and see if that's allowed.
Well, we did practice using the seat of Moses when we went to Israel. Remember that?
Well, that was one of the synagogues that we went to.
Yeah.
Every synagogue kind of has a seat of Moses, where the teacher would sit down and comment on the reading, or the what do you call it, the
Torah portion.
The Torah portion, the Haftorah, because Miriam never got to see the Promised Land.
That's true.
Right, and Caleb again.
And he was one of the spies, the leaders of the spies.
Caleb was the one that got his portion from Moshe.
Right.
Moshe said, you can have this portion right here, and
it would make sense that he would be given the portion that was near like the city of giants. I think he got that area that's Kiryat Arba.
Because he wanted to scrap. He was a scrapper.
That was his relatives.
He was an old man that was as strong as when he was in his 20s, and he wanted the parcel of land because his daughter says, I like the waterfalls and it's the river that goes through here. And I guess that's their children, him and Miriam. And so Moses gave it to him, and he says, okay, whoever wants to marry my daughter, kill a giant. you know. So, so it's
a little bit
a
of
lesson in
backstory
being
there.
a lesson in being a potential what do you call it, father of the bride. You know, tell the would be man that wants to marry your daughter, kill a giant for me, then I'll let you marry her.
That's true. Or do what Saul told David to do.
Get some foreskins. Get a whole bunch of them.
All right. Would you like to open us up with prayer then?
Yeah, okay, let's pray, guys.
Thank you.
Uh, Shalom. That comes from you, Abba. We thank you so much for the peace, the stillness, the quiet that you, Lord, give us, your people. A peace that cannot be bought, that cannot be bartered for, a peace that comes in the heart, that comes from you, Lord. And we thank you. We ask for those people, Lord, that are with us today praying that if there is no peace, no, again, quiet in their hearts, that you would, Lord, provide them and allow them to focus on you, that they would see your glory and understand that there is none that can usurp you, none that can dethrone you, and that there is only you that can provide the things that money cannot buy. Father, thank you again for this day. We ask that you would be with my wife Lisa as she teaches, and that you would, Lord, provide with your people, Lord, our fellow believers, enlightenment to them as well. Thank you again. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
All right. I'm having some weird things going on with my throat today, so maybe I'll have one of
It's
you,
okay.
one
At
or
least
both
you're
of
not.
you guys read.
At least you're not half-faced like I am.
Oh, is that what you
Isaac.
look like on the stream?
No.
Okay.
I'm
right.
looking at Isaac's screen and I only see half of my face. I said, okay, I'm doing that one thing that the Masonics do. You cover one eye.
Oh my gosh.
No, you're just a Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, no, I gotta have a mask then. I should be a good singer.
All right. So let's do some prayer requests. If you want to put the camera over there, we can go over these. That would be good.
Okay, hit the Aver.
And again, maybe you can be watching to see if anyone puts the prayer requests in there as well. I'm going to look at the chat too.
Oh man, I'll give you the seat of Moses and now you're ordering everybody around.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And we have an update from Valerie. Tammy gave us an update. Valerie is running short of food again. She has 5 children, and she had this issue last year, and a bunch of you like pitched in and helped her out, and she just needs it for a few days until she gets paid next week. So I'm going to go ahead and put her PayPal link in Brick's server in what he calls the Lizard Lounge on Discord. So anyone that would like to contribute, even just a little bit, would help out. And Tammy says that a couple of her children are autistic, and so she is in dire need. A single mom. She lives in California where everything is super expensive. And so if you'd like to contribute and help Valerie, she also has prayers for protection and healing. All right. And also, too, for Tammy's niece, Charity, she had asked for prayers. She's been given a diagnosis of the big C for lung. And so please continue to keep her in your prayers. I guess she's kind of having a hard time with that, I would imagine, to have that diagnosis. Along those same lines, for Dean's friend Matt, continue ongoing prayer requests for his health. And then there was someone named Chris that came into the chat, I believe it was on Wednesday during Gary Wayne's show, and he was having some thoughts of ending his life. So all of you were so encouraging. It was so nice to see everybody gather together and just really encourage him. And Zen even prayed for him during the show, so that was really cool. So continue to keep Chris in your prayers. I haven't heard from him or seen him since then. I don't know if anyone has any updates about him. I think his last name was Graham, Chris Graham. So if you could please continue praying for Chris. I see Christy, I see you in the chat, sister. Ongoing prayers for the health of her dogs, for her health, and for her finances. So we'll continue to keep you in prayer, Christy. Leonard, he gave me a little bit of an update about some side effects he's having from some new medication. So he's only taking that like as needed instead of every day. So I'm hoping your side effects are a lot less there, Leonard, from that. Did you want to talk about Clark?
What did you want me to say about
Just
Clark?
announce his prayer request.
Oh, it is? Oh. Clark's mom. You've heard this before, and she's still going, still alive physically, but we need to make sure that her spiritual salvation is secure. So please partner up with Clark in his prayer for his mom, which is a prayer that we all should have for any parents that are still breathing, life, and that don't wait. Don't wait till a deathbed situations or whatnot. Start now. Start sharing. Start loving. Start again, giving all you can to have them know who salvation comes through. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a comment. Shay, yes, Shay, there are a lot of monkeys I have to deal with all the bananas. Lisa keeps buying all these bananas. I don't know why. And we got tons of bananas in our freezer. But
I use it for smoothies, and I make really healthy banana oat bread that I eat as like a snack. For
Yeah.
sugar-free.
And then Mankulas did mention it's Shavuot today.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so-
That's right. Happy Shavuot, everyone.
Yeah. Chag Shavuot. Chag Shameach.
All right, for YIY or Yah and Yahusha, Lisa, she's asked continued prayers for her finances and health, so we'll continue to lift you up, Lisa. Sharon, continued prayer requests for the 16-year-old girl she discussed last month. She's had a bunch of trauma. She's now homeless, and they're just trying to help her care for her emotional health. Also for our friend Kay and her daughter Grace. Her 14-year-old autistic daughter is still on the run in East LA, and she is now on the list of runaways and the national list. Yeah, she's been on it for a couple months, and but she is in touch with Kay by phone. She just is not willing to come home yet, so we're just continued prayer for her to come home. And then Valerie, there's the update I gave on her. So if anybody is interested in making a small donation to help Valerie out, I will put her PayPal up on Brick's server. And Hallelujah reports continued rejoicing. Our granddaughter Ayla, she's such a healthy child, and Isaac and Kaylee are great parents for her, and continue for prayers for all their health, and also for Joy Garcia and for Chelsea, Paulino and Chelsea. They're both expecting another child in their family in the next several months or so. For myself, thank you all for been praying for me. My healing is progressing. I have some good and bad days, but mostly good. So that's a thing to rejoice for. Anyway, so if you have any other prayer requests, you can put that in the chat, and we can get started with our teaching. Unless, did you have anything else you wanted to
No,
announce?
did you get the? You checked all the updates. Side effects lightening up.
Yeah. I got an email from him. He was explaining that, so I'm glad that your
Okay.
side effects are lightening up, Leonard.
Okay, no. You can go ahead and teach you. You want me to set you up?
Okay. Also, just to announce again, Aldian will be teaching next week, so don't forget to come and join us next week and support his teaching. He's always got some interesting things to share, and I'm sure that this next weekend will not be an exception. That's over here. All right, so I will be teaching today using materials from the God culture, as well as some things that I've put together. And this first map, the teaching is called They Took Our Languages. So we're going to be focusing on ancient languages today. If you look at this map, this is in one of their books called Solomon's Treasure. You can find that. You can download it for free to read online at thegodculture.com. They have all their books are available for free reading, including the one that I helped them write last year called The Mystery of the Three Kings. You can read those. They're all in full color. And this map is in there. If you cannot see this map for some reason, you can always go over to their website and you can take a look at what I'm going to present there. I'm going to be presenting from their book, Solomon's Treasure. It's the chapter I'll be reading from is chapter 13. It's called Residual Ancient Hebrew in the Philippines. And before Noble and I realized the significance of the Philippines in the Bible, Noble is Filipino himself, and I think
I am. Oh my gosh.
We do have several other Filipinos with us. I know Mangkulas for one, and I never realized that their history is tied so closely to the Bible. It's just been hidden from us because they are no longer called the names that they were in the Bible. But their country is just riddled with like names that are Hebrew in origin, are very close to Hebrew in origin or meaning. And so this is a map of their island chain. There's over 7,500 islands to choose from in this beautiful archipelago. If you take a look at it, to me, it kind of looks like the North Island, the biggest island, kind of looks like the side of a head, like a skull. You can see like the little skinny one reaching out on the side, maybe like an arm, and then the body and the rib cage in the back. To me, it kind of looks like a skeleton in a way. And I don't think this is by mistake. And then like the pelvic area would be like the South Island down there called Mindanao. And and the former name, one of the former names that it's referred to in Genesis 2, verse 10 to 14 is Havilah. And I don't think that's by any accident, because Havilah is also from Hava. And if you guys know who Hava is in the book of Genesis, in the Hebrew language, that's the Hebrew language for Eve. Eve is like the English rendition. I don't know how in the world they got Eve from Hava, but we grew up knowing that this is Eve, Adam and Eve, instead of Adam and Hava.
No, if you look at Eve, it's spelled E-V-E. Hava is H-A-V-A.
Right.
H. So you got the vowel, you got the consonant, you get the vowel. Eve or Eve, Ava. You know, when you read it, then you say, oh, wow, okay.
I mean, it's kind of close, but I would have never guessed that, oh, that's Eve, so it must be Hava, you know, if I didn't know Hebrew. So to me, it just makes sense.
So Mankulas also mentioned that his hometown is Buluwan, which is now called Bulukan.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so I
So
thought
do you
it-
see Bulawana here? It's in orange on the map. It's
On the top right,
to-
middle right.
Middle right, right below Pishon, or Pishon. So I put these names in color so you can see them a little bit better. The map that's in their book, they're really small, but they also have the Hebrew rendition of a lot of these names that's on this map. So I'm going to go over a bunch of these names, what their meaning is, why it's significant, what it means in Hebrew. And you can just see that there's a lot of ties together. You know, it just like the people here in the Far East, they definitely are related to the Hebrews. You can even trace it back, and I'll do that as I'm teaching here so you can see how in the world they're related. But let's look at a little more at this map here. You see in the bottom central in green where I wrote Garden of Eden, and you can see it in Hebrew, Gan Eden, right above there. It's this. They've traced it down there because if you look at some of the other work the God Culture has done, they have over 75 ancient maps showing that paradise is located right there. It's not, I mean, that's water today. We call it the Sulu Sea. Interestingly enough, Sulu means torch. So what is the garden being guarded by today? I don't think that's an accident either, that they would call that the torch sea, or, you know, Sulu Sea. Guarded by the angel carrying a flaming sword. So the Garden of Eden is described in the Book of Jubilees and in the Book of Enoch, is currently located inside the earth. So it would be underneath the water that's in there, underneath the earth that's in there. And that area of water in the Sulu Sea is also known as the Tubataha Reef. The Tubataha Reef has over 80 species of sea creatures that are not located anywhere else in the world. So it's a major deal for people to go snorkeling there, to do scuba diving there. They have like yachts and ships that are, you know, they're depart from some of the other islands, and they'll just spend time like 7 days in the middle of the Sulu Sea so people can do scuba diving and snorkeling and just see all these amazing sea creatures that are nowhere else to be found in the world.
Did you mention how many islands are in the Philippines?
Over 7,500.
Okay, Mancula says this is so funny. He said there was a Miss Universe Filipino candidate who got asked how many islands was in the Philippines. Her response was during high tide or low tide, which is a great answer.
That is a good answer.
There's more islands with low tide than there are high tide. So, and you know that's a true
true.
Filipina.
That's true.
Only a true Filipino would know that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
that's
Mom.
true. Thank you, Mom, for that.
I call it Mango. All right, Mango.
All right. I'm going to point out some other things on this map before we move on here. If you look on the far right near the bottom, you'll see where I put in blue Hibuk Hibuk. We've talked about this before. If you look down a little bit more, you'll see in Hebrew it says Hibuk with the exclamation mark in black, where it says Mount of the East, just a little bit north of that, the most southern island called Mindanao. Noble and I visited that last year. Hibuk Hibuk is also known as the Mount of the East. It's even labeled that on Google Earth. And if you want to know what the Mount of the East is in the Bible, you can look at Genesis chapter 10. It's also mentioned in the book of Enoch. And the natives call it Hibuk Hibuk, but we have friends that live there. They never understood what Hibuk Hibuk meant. But then you look it up in their native languages. There's so many different dialects in the Philippines, and it actually means I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that would have been the mountain that Adam made the first smoke sacrifice after he and Eve were evicted from the garden. And in Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, it talks about how they did that and what he actually sacrificed, the different herbs and spices that he offered to the Most High, just to say he's sorry for what happened in the garden. It just must have been such a devastating thing for them to be like kicked out of the garden in that way. And you can read more about their adventures and their horrible time that they had in the book of Adam and Eve. There's 2 of those in the Lost Books of Eden series, and you can read more about how he and Eve tried numerous times to kill themselves, throwing themselves off of this particular mountain. This particular mountain also is located, the Cave of Treasures is located inside this particular mountain somewhere. It's described in the book The Cave of Treasures and also in the Revelation of the Magi as the holy mountain of the people of the Far East. It's in the land that was given to Shem, as first described in Genesis 10 and also in the book of Jubilees chapters 5, 6, and 7, I believe, where he gives all of the locations of how the land was dispersed after the flood to Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the lands given to Japheth would have been mostly the colder lands in the north. That would have been including like Europe, North America down to a certain point. The cooler lands like the far north in Asia, like the parts of Russia. And then the lands given to Shem would have been the more central areas where the temperature is a little bit warmer but not too hot, like in Asia. And also the far north, so like the North Pole, the Mount of the Congregation is actually Shem's land as well. And it extends all the way from Israel all the way to the Far East to the Philippines. That's all Shem's land, and they're kind of near around the equator. And then the hot lands would have been given to Ham, whose name actually means hot, Ham or Cham, if you want to say it that way. And his lands were given to him, including Africa, Australia, and he would have gotten all of like south of the further south of the equator, such as South America, Polynesia. All of those lands were belonging to Ham. So Philippines was definitely part of the lands given to Shem. And I'm going to trace the genealogy back here a little bit in some of the slides I have coming up. Let's look at this map for just a few more things before I move on. You'll notice that some of these names are for islands. Some of these names are actually for mountains. Some of these names are for just the general area or cities where it's located. Some of them are for rivers. But and there's so many more that we could go into. There's like hundreds that have Hebrew roots in the names. And you'll notice in the top where the God culture put Hebrew Pilipinas. Do you want to explain why they call themselves Pilipinas, honey?
No, you can.
Since you are Filipino?
I'm too busy looking for mermaids.
Okay. All right. Filipina is actually a Hebrew word. It's the name of the people. And I think that when the Spanish came in and took over after Magellan so-called discovered these islands and realized how much gold was actually here, they took the name that the people called themselves the Pilipinas. And they said, oh, we're just going to name it after King Philip because it's the closest to Pilipinas. So they call themselves the Philippines, which to me is just, they just twisted it around. Who knows even if like they wanted it to be after King Philip. But Filipina is definitely spelled with a P in English. Let's see if there's anything else I should note before we move on. Let's move on to the next slide here. I might be going back to this particular slide with some of the other research that's going to be coming up. Did you have anything you wanted to share about the slide, the map, before I move on?
Yeah, it's going to take a long time to really read it and understand it and locate all the names you got on there, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. And Noble helped me with this to make it so it's more easily
Readable.
to read. Yeah. So thank you for that, honey. Also, before we go on real quick, the lowest island, the furthest southern island that you'll see in the bottom is called Mindanao. And if you want to take a look at some other videos we have up on our channel, that I just made some short clips of our visit to Philippines last year and the conference that we attended was down there in the furthest southern largest city called Davao, which is in Mindanao. So that's where we were, if you want to have a reference for that.
I want to go to Mango's place at Bulawan and eat some banana splits there.
Ah,
Yeah.
they're known for bananas?
Well, or banana splits / halo halo.
Oh,
Right, Mango?
Okay. All right. One of the things that kind of made me want to do this study is that I've been learning Tagalog through several different teachers on YouTube. One of them is Tagalog Time with Pat. She's a very young teacher, but she's really good. She's extremely thorough. So if you want to check out her YouTube channel, she gives some great information, and she teaches the words like one by one, and she gives you a lot of practice time. So I'm trying to learn it there, and Noble and I, well, Noble knows some because his mom spoke Tagalog. Your dad spoke it too, yeah?
Yeah, well, everyone, my aunts, my uncles, you know.
So he grew up hearing it, but he wasn't actually taught it. He just kind of picked up on what.
But I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. And so one of the ways I'm also learning is through song. For those of you who are musical, you know that a really good way to learn things or to memorize things is if you put it to music. So for those of you who know like praise and worship songs from a couple decades ago, one of my favorite songs is As the Deer. And so I'm learning that in Tagalog. And so the one of the sayings is, in the song, one of the phrases is, Ang puso ko't kaluluwa. And I thought, luluwa, that sounds so familiar. Where did I hear that before? And in English, that means my heart and soul or spirit. So luluwa is actually reference to soul and spirit. And then I looked in the book of Adam and Eve. If you look in I believe it's in the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 74, you will see the name Luluwa, and she was the first daughter of Adam and Eve. She had another name, which is located in another book, in the book of Jubilees. The first daughter is called Awan, and that means like a cloudless sky or beautiful. And so this first daughter had two like amazing names. Her first name means either soul or spirit, and the second one name is cloudless sky or beautiful. And so her name is also found in the most beautiful spot on earth, which is Palawan. So I'm going to go back to this map so you can see that. I think you actually included a little clip of this map. If you see Palawan, that's the little skinny island on the far left. And so that would have been really close to the Garden of Eden, and whoever named that must have known something about the first daughter of Adam and Eve, because her name is very prominent there, Awan, which means beautiful. And this is a picture I took actually when we were in Palawan. Noble and I stayed there for a few nights. We wanted to see what this most beautiful spot on earth looked like, and oh my goodness, it was really gorgeous. You can see there Noble stuck in there, the island on the top right corner, and Palawan, and you can see this is from the God Cultures book. I took this excerpt because they broke it down in Hebrew so well. Pala, which means to be surpassing or extraordinary, and Awan, or to eye or to look at. And in Jubilees 4 verse 1, it says she, or Hava, or Eve, gave birth to her daughter Awan. And they have their interpretation, the extraordinary first daughter, or extraordinarily beautiful. So Luluwa, Awan, whatever you want to call her, they're both of the names are included in Tagalog and in the Philippines here. This next one is Taal, volcano, and lake. And so in Hebrew, it would be mostly similar to Tahal, which means called out or summoned for a specific purpose. So where the Hebrew term Tahal occurs in Jewish scriptures, the Greek Septuagint uses the word ecclesian as the equivalent term, and it is so translated over 90 times. So if you're looking for the word Tahal, you might not find it in the Septuagint, but it's definitely in Hebrew, in the Hebrew scriptures. And so this is a beautiful lake located on Luzon, and it actually has a little island in the middle of it. It's a dormant volcano, so that you can kind of see the cone shape there on the bottom of Taal Lake. Okay. All right, the next one I'm going to look at is Mount Kabilian, the hidden mountain. In Hebrew, the first part would be Kaba, which means to withdraw or to hide. And the last part would be Lian, which means in Hebrew greatly, exceedingly beyond measure. And the interpretation is greatly hidden. And so this mountain is on an island called Leyte. The locals and the hikers in Leyte refer to this mountain as the hidden mountain. However, in Hebrew, this means greatly hidden. The probable origin is obvious. On Negros Island, there is a mountain with a very odd interpretation for consideration. This is another one, Mount Canalaon. In Hebrew, kana means he or it bought. It's like a past tense. In Greek, kan means though, if so much as, at the least, or even. And laon in Greek means the people of God. And so the interpretation that they came up with is the bought people of God, which I think is pretty cool because they really did the research on all these words and broke it down in different languages. And to me, it's like, I don't see these words in any other languages and except for in the Philippines. And they have so many different dialects. Like I said, it's just really amazing how much of it lines up with Hebrew and also in Greek. So the next word I'm going to look at is Kabayan. It is the region at the foot of Mount Pulag in Ben-Guet. So Hebrew again, Chaba means to withdraw or hide. Kabaya means Yah has hidden. And then Yan means God's grace. And that's a really common part of words in Tagalog is Yan. I noticed that's in so many different words. Like, I'll bring up some more later on, but Yan is really common like to have within words. Can you think of any words off the top of your head?
When I'm listening to a boring speaker, I yawn a lot.
Are you yawning right now listening to me? Okay. So that's
Never.
That's a region at the foot of Mount Pulag. Okay. We're going to look at a region called Sagada or Sagada in the mountain province of Luzon. Luzon again is that northern island. It's a very large island out of their chain. In Hebrew, Saga means to laud, praise, and exalt. And Yada in Hebrew, of course we know, is to know or knowledge. And Da'at in Hebrew is an opinion or knowledge. So interpretation that makes more sense to me too is to know praise. So that would be the mountain province is Sagada, to know praise. And in this particular region, the Igorot, I'll explain the Igorot in just a minute. The Igorots have a very arcane custom reported as old as over 2,000 years. They hang their dead in coffins from the top of tall mountains. It is almost as this is a tradition that originates from the time before the flood, as if one knew the flood was coming. They may attempt to give those ancestors' bones a chance at survival by transferring them to the highest ground possible, hanging from a mountaintop. This is an area defined in Hebrew as knowing praise, and the Igorots too offer a direct etymology in pronunciation. So now we're going to talk about who's the Igorots. Igorot in Hebrew, it could be Igoret, and that means a letter, an epistle. So the Igorot tribe is one of the native indigenous tribes located in the Philippines. There's a bunch more. We'll be talking about some more of those. But the Igorots were especially known to the explorers that they were so intrigued with these Igorot people. They lived in the mountains. They were pretty secluded, and they had some interesting different traditions. They did kind of like what I just read about how they would hang their dead in coffins. We also kind of see a little bit of that in Madagascar. We did a study on a missionary who went to Madagascar, and he said that they build these elaborate, they don't hang their dead, but they build these like elaborate houses on the tops of, high up as possible on the tops of mountains.
For the dead.
And that's not for them to live in. Like they live in these little shacks at the bottom of the mountain.
They live in dumps. And you have to build a dead person a nice house.
They have these mansions that are on the top of mountains, and that's where the dead are buried in their families. And so they go up there and they have like dinners and everything, but they don't live there, which is kind of strange.
They got it backwards.
It's a little bit strange, yeah. Okay, so this is the Igorot tribe, and I was so upset when I saw what they did to the Igorot people from the Philippines. For those of you who have studied anything about the old world or about the World's Fairs that they had all over the U.S., basically all over the world in major cities in the late 1800s, early 1900s, this is one that was particularly in St. Louis. You can see the flyer for it on the left-hand side, the Philippine Exposition, 1904. They basically kidnapped 1,200 natives from the Igorot tribe in the Philippines, where it's warm, they didn't have to wear much clothing. And if you know what St. Louis is like in the winter, can you imagine? They kidnapped all of these people. They probably bribed them to get on the ship, and then they didn't realize they weren't bringing them back home. And so they'd put out these ads for the World's Fair to get people to come and take a look at these tribes. They call them like the head hunting, dog eating, wild people from the Philippine Islands. They illustrated their tribal life, manners, customs. And this is at Central Park in St. Louis, on Market and 8th Street. And, you know, if it opened on November 4th, can you imagine how freezing cold it was for these people? And they have pictures of what they would have the 1,200 natives from this particular tribe perform for people. And while they were performing, it describes how people would throw bananas at them like they were animals. They would like traffic their children that they brought. They were horrible to the Igorots. It just makes me so upset that they were like that. This is another flyer from that particular World's Fair in St. Louis. They have souvenirs from Igorot Village. Then again in 1904 from St. Louis. And they had the people dressed like this in November. I mean, it's talked about in articles about the tribe that came over with the probably Masons that brought them over to perform in their World's Fairs. They made them wear like what the guy is wearing, just like something around their waist. How they would dress in the tropical islands of the Philippines is how they had dressed in Missouri in November. Like, it's just, so many of them got sick and died. It was just horrible. They had to run around and dance and perform while, you know, you can see the guy with the tall black hat over there on the right side, you know, probably beating them if they didn't perform properly. And I imagine they didn't get paid anything to do this, although they were probably bribed. And you can see their little huts they were forced to build to show people what they lived like in the Philippines. And you can see a gigantic old building in the back there that was probably part of the exposition. But imagine over 1,000 people from the Igorot tribe were forced to move to Missouri to do this. And this wasn't a short World's Fair. I mean, this World's Fair was open for like a year at least. And so this is what they did to them. Okay, we'll move on. It's kind of depressing and makes me so upset with like the founders of our nation who forced people from other countries to leave where they're comfortable to come and be put on display for everyone else to see. All right, but then again, it reminds me also of the difference between Esau and Jacob and how the two would always be basically at war with each other. And Esau would be ruling earth until Messiah would come back. And then in the new earth, like Tammy was talking about in our last chat, that when the new earth comes, then Jacob will be ruling. And so to me, the people in the Philippines represent Jacob because they were relatives, very close cousins of Abraham. And we'll see that when I go into the genealogy in a little bit here. Okay, so the next word I'm going to cover is Binal Bagan. So Hebrew, bin is to understand, discern, separated, or the wise. Alba is also translated as alba, or rising. Gan, that's another name for the garden, or like an enclosure. And so the interpretation given is the wise rising by the garden. And we can look on the map, we'll see that this is located just, I believe, a little bit north of where the garden would have been in the Philippines. Okay, we covered this place. This is somewhere where Noble and I would like to visit in the future. It's called Surigao, or Siargao is how the locals pronounce it. It's located on the southern island of Mindanao. And the God culture says this may be another prophetic relation. There's so many to consider. The surfing capital of Mindanao also poses an intriguing probability. So here we have Siargao. For those of you who have read The Revelation of the Magi and the Mystery of the Three Kings book that was released last November, the Magi are said to have originated from an area in the world called Shir. And so if you look at Siargao, it sounds, I mean, it's not spelled S-H-I-R like the translator put in this book, but it definitely sounds exactly like it. And it's very close to where Mount Hubik is located. So in Hebrew, Suri or Sarai is a princess, a noblewoman, kind of like Sarah used to be Sarai. And also Hebrew, Gaal or Gaal is like the last part of Siargao, which is to redeem or act as kinsman, redeemer, avenge, revenge, or ransom. And so the interpretation I have is my princess of redemption. And there's a place I would love to see in Siargao below it. It's called the Enchanted River. And the color of the water, it reflects the sky above. It's just so beautiful with all the greenery. You can see people swimming in there. This looks like a great place. Plus, it's the surfing capital of the Philippines, so really looking forward to seeing what that's like.
Well, the color of water is normally the reflection of the sky. And
so why do you think that this particular water is so beautiful to the way they call it the Enchanted River? Because it's all different shades of green and
it's
blue.
enchanted because there's tons of mermaids over there.
Oh my
That
gosh.
Shay, Mango, and I are gonna go and
You're gonna go find some
we're
mermaids.
gonna go fishing. Yeah.
You know what the mermaids are, right? In the Book of Enoch.
Oh
The
yeah.
sirens?
The sirens. Yeah.
Who are they?
Adrian mentioned them.
Oh, okay. So they were
Sirens.
like the mothers of the Nephilim, kind of like Orpha.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Siargao or Surigao, and another pronunciation. All right, then there's Samar Island. This is another place I would like to visit. We've been invited by a friend to come visit there. And there's also some surfing beaches there as well. So this is Samar, and if that sounds familiar, think of a place in Israel where people lived that kind of like replaced some of the northern tribes, which is called a place in Israel where people live that replaced some of the northern tribes after the captivity. It sounds like Samar. Samaria or Samaria.
On northern Israel. I'm thinking about on the other side of the Jordan.
Oh, okay. No, this is very similar. It means he or it bristled. It also means, in English, bristled is hair or fur that stands upright away from the skin as a sign of anger or fear, react angrily or defensively, bristle or be covered with or abundant in. And the interpretation they gave is standing upright in righteous anger in abundance. So I think that was pretty neat. It's so close to Samaria or Samaria. And that's a really beautiful spot too. I mean, just look at these beaches. It's not at all like the beaches here in Hawaii where they're always super crowded. There's no parking. There's hundreds of people in the water all trying to catch the same wave. In the Philippines, it's not like that. It's just like a
No,
pristine,
it's getting more
gorgeous
crowded
beaches.
over there. There's more surfers going there.
Then we have Mount Pinatubo. In Hebrew, Pinah means cornerstone. In Hebrew, tub means good things, goods or goodness. And bo means to come and go. So their interpretation could be cornerstone of goodness to come. And there's a picture of that Mount Pinatubo down there in the bottom I put in. In Tagalog, it means to raise, Pinatubo. Is he raising his cornerstone of goodness to come? When we get to prophecy, you may respond affirmative. However, how about a mountain that likely bears record to one of the most significant events of all time?
Yeah, that eruption of Pinatubo, God did raise up all that lava and pyroclastic ash in the air, and it covered everything in the Philippines, and that thing went up miles high.
Do you remember when that was?
I'm sure Sherry could find out. It's on YouTube. I mean, the Pinatubo was a big eruption. So
Mount Pinatubo, okay. Oh, and thank you, Sherry. Thank you for the props, sister. Thank you again to our moderators for always putting links and everything in and welcoming everyone. Thank you so much, Sherry. I see Kaylee joined us. Hi, Kaylee, sweetie. Kiss baby for me. And then Tammy, thank you again. Monkulis, we appreciate all of your moderators in here. I'm not sure if Rick is in here, but...
Oh, Donovan Hardy says he surfed down there in Surigao.
Oh, no way.
Dude, I'm jealous, man.
Wow.
When you going back there again? I want to go surf.
I can't wait to go to Siargao. That would be
Yep.
cool. This is another mountain that's located, it's actually called Mount Ararat. What does that sound like? To me, it sounds so much like Ararat. It's named after the mountain that they called when Noah landed the ark after the flood. Because now that we know what Noah built the ark with, not gopher wood, it was supposed to be ophir wood with no G. Gopher is not even a Hebrew word. It's supposed to be ophir or ophir wood, which would have been the Nara tree, which is the national tree of the Philippines that is the best wood for building. It's waterproof for building a boat. So there's no other place that makes sense that Noah would have built the ark. It had to be in the Far East, and then it didn't land where, I mean, I really like Ron Wyatt's work, except for this part, because when he tried to target where the ark landed in Turkey, it's not in the right direction. They wouldn't have been able to travel all that way. And then the mountain that the Turks call Ararat now, that was only named in the last 1,000 years or so. It wasn't even the ancient name of this mountain. And the mountain is really, really low compared to anywhere in the Himalayas. And so there's a lot more evidence it would have landed in one of the mountains of the Himalayas as it traveled from the Far East. And there wasn't a large boat that was found in Turkey, but the research, if you look at the God Culture's research on that, it's done really well. You can go take a look at their video on how that could most likely be the Nephilim ark. Because the fallen angels knew that there was a flood coming. They would have wanted to protect their offspring as well to survive past the flood, and they weren't fully human, so they're not counted as the all flesh died. They would have been counted as not fully human. So this is a mountain in the Philippines. I think that they named it to just like commemorate the flood event. And it means earth. Ara means earth. Yat means covered. And in Ilocano, it means rescue. That's another dialect from the north that people speak in the Philippines. And so it would have been earth covered, which makes a lot of sense from the flood. The whole earth was covered.
You see what Sherry put in about Pinatubo?
Oh, Mount Pinatubo is a stratovolcano in the Philippines. June 15, 1991, it erupted, resulting in the second largest eruption of the 20th century. Oh, right on. Thank you, Sherry.
That's 1 week after Lisa's birthday. She didn't get a gift, so she erupted.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody felt her wrath.
Thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. Okay, Samal Island. This is another location that Noble and I actually visited last year when we were there. It's really close to Davao City where the conference was. It's just a short, like 20-minute ferry ride that you need to take to reach Samal Island. And it also has areas like biblical Zion and Canaan or Canaan, the correct spellings of both. In Hebrew, there's not really letter C, it's mostly K, especially in Paleo Hebrew when you translate to English. So Samal in Hebrew means sergeant, image, likeness, or symbol. There's something about this island which makes it a symbol or emblem for the nation. Just like Davao, that's where the conference was, we see it likely Samal will be greatly involved in the rising of the Philippines, and it is right there. It's in Hebrew, in its Hebrew name prophetically. So here is a very strong name in Hebrew. This is Panabo. This is another location in the Philippines. Hebrew, Pana, is like before the face of God, or Panay. And Hebrew, bo, is come and go. We talked about that earlier. So their interpretation of Panabo would be to come and go before the face of God, or before the face of Yah.
Well, bo can also be a, what did they call that? A suffix onto a noun, and this means him. So there's a few meanings for that.
Okay, I'm putting it back. Thank you for that, honey. I am putting it back on the map so we can take a look at some of these places that I described here. You can see Pinatubo there on the top in yellow on the left side. You can see Sagada on the top in the far north in green there. Cabayan, you can see there. Cagayan, there's some more words that have yan in it. Let's see what else. Oh, Maharlika. Maharlika, that's a name that the Philippines used to be called before the Spanish came. Maharlika. And we'll go over some of these as well. And you can see that there's an entire island called Panay. If you look in the center of this map, it's in purple. Panay, that is a total Hebrew word. It's before the face of. It's located in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. And that's Panay in Hebrew right there. And it's very fitting for this particular island because it's facing the Garden of Eden. It's that little triangle-shaped island right below the word Panay on this map here. Let's see, what else do I need to cover? Oh, there's Siargao. If you look on the far right, near the bottom, right above Mindanao, you can see the most northeast corner of Mindanao. There's the city of Siargao, or Surigao, some people say. Very close to the Mount of the East, as you can tell there. And you can see Samar also, Samar Island. I put it in red. Samar is actually the nearest island to the word there on the far right. It's in red, it says Samar, and then the island is directly to the left of the word. That's the entire island of Samar. So it looks like the most places for surfing, it's all like the east facing shores, right? I think,
Yeah, that's because it's facing the ocean, the general ocean.
and I think too, it's very close to where the Pishon River is
Pishon's on the
underwater.
east side. Yeah.
Yeah, so it flows very close there. So now we know why we have tides and why we have different wave heights here in Hawaii as well. And in the Philippines, it's just based on the level of the Pishon River, which is the really warm, deep underwater ocean river that's underneath the ocean. It surrounds the entire land of Havila, or the Philippines, which is in Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 to 14. There's a reference to the Pishon River there as one of the rivers of Eden. I have a map of that coming up, so let's go back here to where we were. There's Panabo. Okay, next word is mazbate. So in Hebrew, mas is forced laborers, task workers, serfdom. Batem in Hebrew is you, or plural is came. So the interpretation could be the captives came. And what captives are we talking about? If one considers the lost tribes of Israel were serfs or slaves in captivity in Assyria, which they left to migrate to the Philippines, then the logical conclusion is that those captives came to the Philippines. Perhaps some settled in Masbate and named it such in Hebrew, especially since it is right next to Samar, likely named for Samaria. Just south of Masbate, we find Bohol, which also appears in root as Hebrew. Okay, so we've been to the island of Bohol. It's such a beautiful island. If you look up Bohol, just do a search and pictures of Bohol. They have some very, very interesting land formations there called the Chocolate Hills. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. It's over 1,000 mountains, mini little mountains. They're all around the same size. To me, they look like little mini pyramids. And they call them the Chocolate Hills because only one certain type of grass grows on these mountains. Nobody's ever really dug into them, although right before we visited there was an earthquake like a year before. So it broke open some of the mountains just slightly, and you could just see some limestone underneath there. But to me, I don't know. It talks about, like in Revelation, the book of Revelation, where actually in Job, where there's the two creatures, Leviathan or Leviathan and Behemoth. And it talks about Leviathan as the creature that lived in the sea, and it talks about Behemoth as living in the land that has 1,000 mountains or 1,000 hills. And so this place would definitely fit that. I've never seen anywhere else where it has had these like miniature little mountains that are all the same height, and it just extends across a huge part of this island. So Bohol, if you look up Bohol, make sure you look for the Chocolate Hills. There's also another little thing that we drove past. We didn't actually get to stop, but I want to see this miniature monkey. They have the tiniest ape in the world located on Bohol. And do you remember what it's called, Hen?
The silverback gorilla.
No, it's not.
No?
The tarsier, or the tarsier. And what does tarsier sound like? It sounds like Tarshish. So we know Tarshish is actually located in the Philippines as well. That's that southernmost island of Mindanao. The former name on ancient maps for the island of Mindanao is Tarshish. And that's in the Bible as well. That's one of the offspring of Japheth, who had ships, who would have been a great resource for people after the flood to travel from Central Asia to get on their ships and travel back to the Philippines so they could live where their ancestors lived before the flood.
Mango knew the answer to that one. I think he owned one at one time.
Oh, a tarsier?
Yeah.
Tarsier. Okay, and so Bohol, Hebrew bo, of course, means to come and go. Hol means sand, as round or whirling particles, usually sand of the seashore. Similarly, a simile of numberlessness, vastness, so of Abraham's seed. And so, and Bohol is like they have a major port there where ferries, the system that they have set up to get around the Philippines is they have a very intricate ferry system. And Noble and I experienced that when we were there. We rode ferries to get from certain islands to other places that didn't have airports. And Bohol is one of those. They have a major port. We took a ferry from Cebu to arrive in Bohol. After our first trip there, we stayed in Bohol for about a week. And it's known as like one of their naval bases, one of their naval seaports. And so I think that it's always been kind of a place of traveling merchants. And so it makes sense it's called Bohol. It also sounds like behold to English. So maybe they got the English word behold because Bohol is so beautiful. It is just this really lush green island. Lots of beachfront property for extremely low prices. And I think that they've started to see a little bit more tourism now just because of the Chocolate Hills and the Tarsier. They've advertise those. They also have like a river cruise that has all you can eat buffet on there that I wanted to check out. Maybe Noble will like that too.
I'm all about food.
He's all about food, especially Filipino food.
Yeah, we put Brick, Clark, Shay, Phil, and myself with Mango, and Adrian. Oh man, we bankrupt that thing.
Okay, it's true. All right, so we're back to the map. Thank you, Hun, for zooming on it here so everyone can see Bohol. Bohol kind of looks like a little turtle island. Bohol is in yellow there in the center of this map, and Bohol Island is that.
It's right above the H.
Yeah, right above the H is there. And then you can see next to it is Cebu. But if you know anything about languages in Hebrew and in the Filipino languages, there was nothing. Cebu in written language now starts with a C, but there was no letter C. It was always translated as an S. So that small little finger island just to the left of Bohol is Cebu, also known as Cebu or Sheba. So Queen of Sheba, where do you think she came from? She came from the land of Sheba, which would have been that island right there. And Cebu is to this day known as the Queen of the South. They actually call that city of Cebu, the largest city on the island of Cebu or Sheba. They call that the Queen of the South. And we asked some of the locals when we were there, like, do you know why you call this the Queen of the South? And they had no idea. They just thought, well, maybe because Manila is like the Queen of the North and we're the next largest city, so we're like the Queen of the South. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, you have no idea that there was actually a Queen of the South mentioned in the Bible. Call it the Queen of Sheba. It came from this city right here. So I thought that was really cool. You can see a little bit closer, there's Hibok-Hibok, there's Masbate there, located just north of Sheba or Cebu. There's also Bohol right there, you can see I mentioned before. Binabagan is over there to the left of Cebu or Sheba. And then Panay is the second island to the left of Cebu or Sheba. And that's the one that would be facing the garden. And you can see where the Garden of Eden would be located among this area of islands. Okay, next one we're looking at is Mount Banahaw. So Hebrew is Bana, that means to build or built. And Hebrew for Yah, of course, that would be Ha or Yah. That's the creator God, short for Yahweh, or as some people say Yahuwah. Our interpretation, built by creator God. This mountain is beautiful. It's a former volcanic mountain. The Hebrew word Bana is the same used in the creation account. In Genesis 2, verse 22, when Yahweh made Bana, or built a woman from Adam's rib. So that's where that word is used, where he built her from the rib. Do you remember when we found that? About instead of he took the rib and made woman, Bana means to build. So he somehow built onto that rib and created woman from Adam.
So,
Bana.
So they're conjoined twins?
I guess you could say she was kind of like a twin of Adam or a clone or something, because he built her from Adam's rib, which is the only bone in the body that regenerates itself if it's broken.
Okay, so he took the rib out and then built it from the rib.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought the rib was still on him.
No,
and
no,
he
no.
built her on her, and it's kind of like a Siamese twin. No.
No, I don't. That
Okay.
Yeah, that visual is a little bit disturbing, but no.
Okay, well, clarify.
Okay. And you can let me know if anybody has any questions. I don't want to go too fast, but if you guys have any questions on any of these slides, or if you have any comments, Noble is monitoring the chat right here next to me, so just let me know if you have anything that you want to share. And yes, Sherry, the Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon, yes. And you know, before I did all this research about where the Queen of Sheba actually came from, I always went with what the Keber Nagas said, that it was the Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia. Now, bear in mind now, there was two Queens of Shebas, okay? There was the Queen of Sheba from the Far East, the godly one, and then there was the Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia, more likely the not godly one with the goat feet. Because if you read the introduction in the Keber Nagast, it describes how that Queen of Sheba, Solomon had to trick with like a mirror on the ground or something because he wanted to see if she really had goat feet.
And her dress was covering her feet, right?
Yeah, so she had to like lift up her dress. He spilled water on this like mirror, and so she had to like lift up her dress to like go across the water. And he's looked and he saw she
You
had
mean,
goat feet.
are you saying King Solomon was the first guy with a camera taking pictures underneath girls' skirts?
I don't know about a camera.
That is nasty.
Well, he had a
Yeah.
lot of money, and he wanted to see if she was fully human or not, and she was not. And that's not That's not the Queen of Sheba that came from the Far East with the ships of Tarshish. That's the Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia. And if you look on the map, Ethiopia is actually in Ham's property, and so that would make more sense that she was the ungodly Queen of Sheba that talked about in the Keber Nagast. They go into huge, great detail about how she produced an offspring from Solomon, and I don't know what he would see in wanting to be with someone that had goat feet, but that was that Queen of Sheba. The really wealthy, godly Queen of Sheba that came and brought tithe for the temple from the gold and all the resources that are in the Philippines, and she traveled with the ships of Tarshish as described in 2nd Chronicles and in 1st Kings. And she traveled with them a journey of a year and a half, which Ethiopia is probably a journey of about a week on camel. It's just south of Israel, whereas the Philippines would have definitely taken a lot longer for them to arrive, and that she would have traveled with Solomon's naval fleet, also known as the ships of Tarshish. Okay, so Mount Banaha, the Hebrew word Banah, is the same used in the creation account in Genesis 2, verse 22, when Yah made or built Banah, a woman from Adam's rib. Many of these words are not just arbitrary, but ones of the most significant meanings, such as this. Another mountain of note is yet another very direct Hebrew reference. And that's this one. It looks kind of like Mount Banaha. Mount Mayon. This is another dormant volcano. And in Hebrew, Ma'an means a spring of water, which is really fitting for this mountain. I'll explain it in a minute. So Mount Baya is another one. Pagadian. Let me do Baya first. Ba is like come or it came. Yah, the name of God of Israel. And these are little mountains that are around Mount Mayon. This picture is of Mount Mayon, which is known to have like the most water, the most primary water resource of like a huge water spring of fresh water that is beneath this mountain. And as you can see, it's just green on the southern parts where the water. They have just numerous springs all over the place. People can go to the spring and get fresh spring water.
Excuse me.
And so it looks like a beautiful mountain to me. So then there's Mount Pagadian, another small mountain in this area. Paga means to meet or make intercession. Da'an means a leader or a judge. Their interpretation they made is intercessors and judges of Pagadian. And then there's Mount Matutum. That's another nearby mountain here. Hebrew mot or matu is to totter, shake, or slip. And then Tumen, does that sound familiar? The and the Tumen, the perfections in the breastplate of the high priest, meaning complete or perfect. So this is the shaking of the high priests. And because we know that it was the Levites that migrated as one of the 10 northern tribes, that they migrated from their captivity as described in 2nd Esdras, I believe it's 2nd Esdras 10 or 11, where they're described as migrating from the captivity when they were released and migrating all the way back to their original homeland, which was the islands of the east. And that's where the Levites are still living to this day, and we'll see that in some research I did coming up here. So here's another mountain with a Hebrew name, Mount Pulag, the tallest mountain on Luzon Island. It's the 2nd highest mountain in the Philippines. In Hebrew, Pulag, that sounds a lot like Peleg. That's the ancestor of Abraham, the brother of Yoktan or Joktan. It was divided. So the earth was divided in those days. Genesis 10, verse 25 for reference. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So there's 2 sons Eber had. Eber should sound really familiar to you if you've taken Hebrew classes with Noble for a long time. you know that the word Hebrew originates with this guy, with Eber. You just put a H in front of this word. So if you look at genealogy in Genesis chapter 10, you can look at this particular verse 25. Eber had two sons. The name of one was Peleg, and that would have been the great grandfather of Abraham. So Joktan would have been his uncle, and Joktan had 12 children. I'm going to do more of a study on that in another few slides here, but just so you know where the name for Hebrew originated was with this guy. And so it was a very godly line of people that both groups descended from. Okay, Naga. Now, if you support Zen's ministry, he has an orphanage located among the Nagas people in Myanmar. Naga is also a word that is used to describe Nagas is kind of like Nakash. It kind of originated maybe from there. But in Hebrew, the word Naga means he or it touched. What did he touch in Naga? With all the other citations, it seems a holy definition would make sense, though this is very general and broad. However, Naga is a Hebrew word indeed. We even analyzed some of the popular fruit in the Philippines, which appears appropriate in letters and definition. All right, so there is a place called Naga. And then, did you want to say something?
Naga is not similar to Nakas.
It kind of, if you say Nagas, it kind of sounds like Nakash.
It's totally different Hebrew letter.
But in Myanmar, they look at the word Nagas as meaning a serpent in their language. That was the connection I was trying to make.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a Hebrew word for Nakash, but in Myanmar, they call it the Nagas is like the homeland of the serpent. All right, the next one, Sabah, banana. If that sounds a little bit familiar, kind of like Sabat or Shabbat, banana is, Sabah is in Filipino or Tagalog, Sabah is the word for banana. It means satisfied, fulfilled, have one's fill of. And if any of you like to eat bananas, like I saw you guys talking about banana splits earlier, you eat a bunch of bananas, you will be full. It's like one of the few fruits you can eat and just, you'll be full pretty quick if you eat like 2 or 3 of them. They're very filling. They're very healthy for you, and they're really good for your digestion. And in Tagalog, they're called sabah, and also in Hebrew. All right, this is one I think Adrian and those of you who know what this is, if you know exactly what this is, put it in the chat. We've talked about Balut quite a bit. They actually have a mountain called Balut Volcano and an island called Balut. In Hebrew, Balut means an acorn. Now, if you know what this picture is of, put it in the chat. I'm interested to see how many of you know what balut is by now. We've talked about it many times in our chats, and Adrian always jokes about it. Noble and Isaac really like to eat this delicacy, and not myself. You may be aware of the delicacy, though it's not my favorite, of the premature duck egg, balut. However, an aerial view of this particular island reveals an island with trees in the pattern of the geometric shape of the top of an acorn. Perhaps coincidence, but interesting. Even the entire island name Mindanao appears Hebrew. And that's because the word Danao, that's a Hebrew word for sure. And Min, that is definitely a Hebrew word as well. But do you know what, off the top of your head, hun, can you remember what the word min means? I know it's like a
in Hebrew?
Yeah.
Min is from.
From or to, right?
It's a preposition from.
From or
Normally
to.
it's, the majority of the times it's from. Because you have other prepositions that say to or towards. Okay, but min is from, and it's also equated to another grammatical term, which I can't remember right now. But from is the majority translation.
Do you happen to remember what dinar is? I didn't look it up.
Dinar?
Yeah, dinar, D-A-N-A-R in Hebrew. Like danao.
Isn't that a currency item? Dinar?
Dinar, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mindanao definitely is a Hebrew word.
Yeah, but the balut is so good though. I mean, I changed the picture that Lisa had on there. This is actually what it looks like. She got one that's an older duck in the egg, and no, you don't.
You can see the beak.
That's, I mean,
That's the ones I've seen, and I just like.
you got to get the younger eggs. They're better. They're more tender, more juicy, and they're so fortified with minerals and vitamins. I think Mango would agree with me there.
I guess they're tasty. I've never tried it. Some people, Kaylee said it tastes like chicken soup.
Yeah, you got to actually put some salt on top because it's kind of bland.
Mm.
So you put some salt in, and Mango says that the balut was featured in the Fear Factor. I don't know why. I would have won that one. Man. How many bullets do you want me to eat?
How many bullets?
Yep.
All right. Well, it means an acorn. You can kind of see why they call this balut. It kind of looks like a little acorn to me. Yes. But thank you for the better picture.
Well, Mango also sharing that buluts also vary from 10 to 18 days. And that's why I mentioned if you get the younger ones, they're better to eat. So.
Thank you, Sherry, for those definitions about Naga. Yes, thank you. It can refer to several different things, including a mythological serpent deity, a group of people in northeastern India and Myanmar, and a grappling tournament organization. The most common usage is the Naga people, a diverse group of ethnic tribes inhabiting the mountainous region of northeast India and northern Myanmar. Thank you, Sherry. Okay. Did you have something else?
Tammy mentioned that next year we'll be showing chicken feet instead of baluts. And did you know
Oh
we
my
just
goodness.
found out that chicken feet is actually a good source of collagen to eat. And I've never eaten chicken feet, but I've saw it on a show which a 100-year-old Japanese doctor was talking about. And I remember Kaylee also mentioned that she loves
one
to
of
eat
her
chicken.
favorite
Yeah.
foods.
So I got to tell her to prepare some for us.
Some chicken
Well, at
feet,
least for me
Kaylee.
and her. I don't think you're going to eat some.
I don't think I'll try it. It just makes me a little squeamish to think of me eating chicken feet, but I'll watch you guys eat it and see what you...
Mango says that he'll eat the balut, but he'll try not to look at it. Me, I look at them. I dissect them. I say, I want to eat that part, this part.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like the hard white part, though. Right, Mango? You know the hard white part at the bottom of the balut?
I'm just
So-
afraid I'm going to crunch on a beak or something and then I'm going to throw up. I can't do it. But you guys are stronger than me. Isaac likes it too. So I don't know if Kaylee eats it. I don't think Kaylee eats it. She'll eat the chicken feet, but not the balut.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. So thank you for that visual, honey. We're going on here to Kalamian. Kalamian in Hebrew means kala, to weigh or compare. And Maya'an means spring or fountain, like we saw in Mount Mayon. So their interpretation there is the comparable springs. And these are excerpts from their book, from Solomon's Treasure. So they say in the next chapters, we will locate the Garden of Eden. And if you guys have watched Tim's teachings with Zen, going through all those maps, you should be totally convinced the Garden of Eden is in the Philippines. Like he breaks it down, and there's over 75 ancient maps that he references with clearly marked paradise is right there in that location I was talking about, with 4 streams descending down into it. It certainly is a large fluke, if so. How about another island named in Hebrew for its location overlooking the Garden of Eden? And I was describing this earlier. Panai. So in Hebrew, al Panai means over me. Panai is over. Panayim is in front of or overlooking. Hebrew Panah is before the face of God. And so there you can see it in Hebrew, Panai, my face. What is Panai Island overlooking or in front of? We'll cover in a coming chapter. It's the Garden of Eden. This is a very appropriate Hebrew name for its region, and we're still only in northern Visayas in references. The isle adjacent is equally confounding. So we can go on here. So this is Gat Maitan. What is Hebrew gat means a wine press, and Hebrew matan is a gift to give. So they write, what astonishes us about this particular meaning is the fact that the Chinese mention one of the trade items from ma'i as wine made from sugarcane, and other accounts that of palm wine. These are staples of the Philippines, but especially Mindoro, as they are called tuba and basi in Philippine languages. Additionally, the Chinese document gold, lead, iron, pearls, cotton, and other goods in their trading with Mindoro. However, the paramount reference on this topic is what we believe to be the Hebrew meaning of the word Mindoro. And you look at this word, it's totally Hebrew. Hebrew min, like Noble was saying earlier, from, of, then, compared to, or min can also mean kind or species. And then also Hebrew for dor or dorot is generations. So their interpretation would definitely be species of the generations. And it's so cool because Mindoro is located right near that Tubataha Reef I was discussing earlier, where there's over 80 types of sea life that are not found anywhere else in the world. And that makes total sense that they would just kind of hover and live right above where they were created, right by the Garden of Eden. I'm sure they probably used to live in either a lake nearby or the Pishon River, which flowed right next to the Garden of Eden. But that word Mindoro, that is definitely Hebrew. Okay, did you ever wonder what a coconut is called in Hebrew and in Tagalog? Buko, that means coconut. Hebrew, buku, means they were split. What does one do with the buko? They split it open. Intriguing prospect. With reservation, we even tackled what is referred to as the creator god of the Tagalogs, whom the Jesuits represent as a pagan god, yet we question this because this emerges as Hebrew. We explore this fully in an entire video, so you can, if you want to look up that part on the God culture, they go into a lot more detail on this. Also, so this is the creator god that the Jesuits say is not the Most High, but we know that it is because they worship the Most High. This is Bathala, the ancient creator god of the Tagalogs. In Hebrew, this word is bat, which is a Hebrew measure as a means of division of liquids. Genesis 1 verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Hebrew Allah is a rib, or to go up or ascend. And then this references in Genesis 2 verse 22, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, made he or built he a woman, and brought her unto the man. So that whole word Bathala that the Jesuits refer to as the god of the Tagalogs or of the Filipinos, that is the Most High God. That is Yah. They just called it by that name because you break it down, it can't be anyone else. All right, this is the mountain Noble and me visited last year, Mount Apo. It's the tallest mountain in the Philippines. It's located in Mindanao, the kind of near Davao City. We had to drive for a couple hours to get there. And it's beautiful. It's all tropical, lush. Greek apo means from or away or from something near, ago, at, because of, before, of separation of apart from the whole, of origin of a cause. And then in Tagalog, it means ancestor, high leader, elders, or grandchild. So apo, that is something that is really cool. We went and visited, if you look at some of our videos that I have up of our visit to the Philippines, you will see a particular lake called Lake Agco that I wanted to visit because of its healing qualities with the mud. There's this mud you can dig out, and then you put it on your body, and then you can soak, and there are beautiful hot springs that are on the side of Lake Agco. And this is all located on Mount Apo. And it's a beautiful drive up there too. We had a really good time there. Got all covered with mud. If you want to see our pictures of us covered with mud, look at our video. I think it's video 1 of the 2 videos I have up on the Philippines.
I think when we were at the top of Mount Apo, I tried to spit to see how far it would fly down, and the wind just blew it back up on my face. No, I'm only kidding.
Okay.
It's a tall mountain though, and the mud baths were good.
Yeah, the mud baths were really good. Yeah. That was fun. There was a bunch of different places you could go, all different temperatures, and it was a good time. I felt so refreshed.
Then they had the volcanic warm water pool that we could wash the mud off in.
Right.
Remember? So that's also included in the pictures.
Yeah, and then they had like a natural sauna that was inside of the mountain, like a little cave you can go sit in, and it was the steam from the hot water that was filled that place. It was gorgeous. It wasn't like commercialized or anything. It's just like you're in this natural place in the side of this mountain. It was really nice. Most point to Apo as a Greek loanword, not originating in the Philippine languages. How does Greek enter the Philippines in use, especially in naming its highest mountain and used in language as grandparent, elder, or grandchild? Tarshish left his family migrating far away from his elders and likely some of his grandchildren. It makes sense. Leaving Mindanao and Visayas is the central area of the Philippines, a brief excursion around Luzon is the northern island, the largest one, it yields more of the same. However, the best transition is Cagayan, which is positioned in different forms in all 3 regions. So there's different Cagayans. There's one in the north, one in the central area, and one in the south. And we visited one of them called Cagayan de Oro. Yeah. And that means, let's see what it means. Hebrew is Kagaya, or the Feast of Yah, from a Levite, origin of name Kagai or Haggai, the prophet. So Kagayan would mean like a feast of Ya, which I think is really cool. And de oro is gold.
Of gold.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the feast, which also includes gold. And so we visited, there's a city in Mindanao in the northern part called Cagayan de Oro. There's also a Cagayan in Luzon and also one in Visayas, which all are really amazing names here.
Did you see what Rolando wrote? That's pretty cool. He's addressing you.
Oh, okay, I said the name Coco is a reference to the boogeyman, also known as cuckoo, used to scare children to keep them from doing or going someplace the parent wants to restrict from them. Oh, thank you for that, Rolando. That is interesting. What is the, is that Coco, is that like in Spanish or what language are you talking about, Rolando? If you can, I said, I see the difference between Coco as coconut and El Coco as an individual or presence, referring to El as the entity. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool.
Very similar to John Wick's movies. John Wick was called the, what's it called again? Oh, guys, I need the audience to help me. I don't remember what they called John Wick. But he was kind of like the boogeyman, but there was a term for it. So.
Okay. All right. All right. So the next one is Bacolod. This is another place that the next time we go back to the Philippines, we've been invited to stay at a friend's farm in Bacolod. It's on the
Baba Yaga. Thank you, Mango.
What is that?
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga is I think it's a Russian term for the boogeyman.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see.
And could Tammy get Noble to mail his loincloth? She will need it.
What? The dance cloth.
Yeah, we were well, Sherry mentioned loincloth earlier.
Oh, okay. Oh, but the Igorot wearing that?
Well, something like that.
Okay. Bacolod, derived from Old Ilongo, Bacolod. In Hebrew, baka means split. So I guess you baka the buka, split the coconut. And Hebrew lod is head of a family of returning exiles. Isn't that crazy? It's nativity. So the interpretation, it would be the head of scattered returning exiles. Who is that talking about? The lost tribes returning to their original land of creation. So the Filipinas, we talked about this at the very beginning. If you guys remember Filipina versus Filipina or Philippines, this is the local name for the Philippines. They don't say we're from the Philippines. They say Filipinas. We are Filipinas. Hebrew pili means wonderful, incomprehensible, secret, and miraculous. And pina means cornerstone. So Filipina actually means miraculous cornerstone. That's what you are, honey. You're a miraculous cornerstone.
It's a miracle that I'm even a stone. Okay.
You're Filipina.
JT says, is this a John Wick study? Yes, it is, JT.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the land of creation is the miraculous cornerstone of all life on earth. The word pina is the same word used in describing he is our chief pina or cornerstone in Psalm 118 verse 22. And I bet you Sherry's going to get that reference up. He is our chief pina or cornerstone in Psalm 118 verse 22. So Pilipina. Now, when the next time when you say you're going to the Philippines or you know a Filipino, you say, no, they're Pilipinas. The Pilipinas. They're the miraculous cornerstone. Okay, the North Island that we studied when I first showed you the map, I'm going to go back there in a minute so you can see these. But Luzon is the largest northern island in the Philippines. It's the one that kind of looks like a skull from the side.
That's where Manila is at.
Yeah, and Manila is on this island, on this
The
particular
capital.
island. It's a huge, massive island. And Luzon, this is one of the places on Luzon called Abra. Abra, if that sounds kind of familiar, it means mother of a multitude. It's the short feminine form of the Hebrew Abraham. So likely the original gold region in Luzon, Abra, is named in the feminine form after Abraham, the forefather of the Israelites, as his ancestor's name Pulag, a direct variant of Peleg, brands the tallest mountain on Luzon, not far from there. Gold mining and population in these regions far precede the Spanish. Linguists will claim this was named as the Gap of Vigan, yet Abra is in the mountains and not a gap. Sure, there may be a narrow gap which the river bends along the route, but why would one name the gold region after a gap? It appears to us the Spanish were more so attempting to hijack the word. Also, King Solomon's favorite concubine is recorded to have borne the name Abra. Did you know that?
No.
Further south in Ben Guet, there is another mountain of Hebrew potential. So I'm going to show you guys real quick.
Sure.
Abra.
Mango wanted to clarify that nowadays Filipino is male and Filipina is female.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so-
You say you're Filipina or Filipina.
Yeah.
But for as a whole, when you're there, if people say yes, I am from the Philippines, they could just say I'm Filipina or Pilipina. So look over here in this map again. The top of this map, you'll see the word Abra. That's on. That's a mountain. You can also see Pulag on there. That's another mountain on the north part of Luzon. Luzon is the northernmost island in the Philippines, largest. There's some other really tiny islands just north of Luzon, and those are in what they call Typhoon Alley, right? Or Hurricane Alley or something like that.
Typhoon would be for the southern hemisphere.
So anything north of that island Luzon, like where the word Abra is located, they have to have special types of buildings. We've seen videos on those people that live there.
Yeah.
Noble's auntie is actually from there,
Yeah,
from Batangas.
yeah. A lot of typhoons go through Luzon, more so than the southern Philippines. But again, they can go wherever they want. Again, they're manipulating the weather, so there has been typhoons going down towards the south as well. But Luzon is
That's the spot
number
for the
one
typhoon.
spot to get hit. Yeah.
And people build their houses of stone there in the little small islands located where that word Abra is at. They wear this special type of thing on their, kind of like a hat on their head to protect them from the strong winds. It's kind of you don't really see houses made of stone in many places in the Philippines. They're mostly made of either bamboo, like the native houses. But on those particular islands, I don't think bamboo would survive the typhoons that go through there. All right, so we're going to go back to where we were at here. Let's see. All right. Gimaras, Hebrew. This word is from goyim, which means nation or people. The last part of this word in Hebrew is aras, meaning betrothed or to engage for matrimony. So the interpretation they give is the betrothed nation, Gimaras. One of the odd things with this word is aras is also the Filipino designation of the coins, which are gifted as a part of the traditional Filipino wedding ceremony. A direct tie to the Filipino language. Who is the betrothed nation? The bride of Messiah, perhaps? This is amazing, especially since such thinking is confirmed in one of the reported former names of this country as Maharlika. Our friend was telling us, our friend was raised in the Philippines, and she was talking about these coins that are given at weddings where the bride's family usually comes up with some ancient, older, sometimes even gold coins that are given to the husband upon marriage to make sure that she's going to be provided for at least for a little while if the husband is not employed, and while she usually goes to live in the husband family compound, which includes houses built onto the main house where the parents live. They usually have enough land and property for all their children to be able to live in that compound on that property. And so they don't have to come up with these huge, expensive large amounts of money like we do here in the U.S. to be able to afford a house of their own. They can just easily, the parents will help them build a house for the new bride and groom to just live in and not have debt or anything right after they're married. So I just think that's a really cool heritage that they have in doing that. So Maharlika, I mentioned this before, a former name associated with the Philippines. So in Hebrew, mahar means to acquire by paying a purchase price, or endow, surely to bargain for a wife or to wed. In Hebrew, lekah or lekha, to, for, of you, it indicates a possession. So I just think that's cool. Like you're bought with a price. That's the former name that they used to call this country before the Spanish came, Maharlika. And you can still hear people yelling that out, like during election time, or you'll see it signs on stores that says Maharlika along with the Filipino flag, which I just think it's neat that they still keep that name in mind. That they actually want to go back to that name, the people of this nation. I believe they eventually will.
Manculas wanted to clarify that Babuyan Islands are the islands north of Abra,
Oh, Babayan.
Babayan.
Okay. I think
Babuyan.
one of them is called Batanes. That was the one I saw a film of
Yeah,
somebody visited
right.
one of those that have the stone houses. And
Mango can comment on
your
that.
Auntie Susie's from there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Monculus, if you have more information, that would be cool. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Any other comments or questions you want to?
No,
Sure.
Just a lot of talking.
Okay. Let's go on here. So, Batangan, speaking of Batangan, this term, Batangan, means a raft that people used so they could fish in the nearby Taal Lake. That was the lake we talked about at the beginning of the study. That was a ancient volcano and it became a lake. And Hebrew, Ba'a, means boil, bulge, inquire, or search. Hebrew Tan means a dragon, maybe the extinct dinosaur, Plesiosaurus, whale. To me, I think that it's more like the Leviathan, like I showed at the bottom picture there. And Gan, again, in Hebrew means an enclosure of the garden. So their interpretation could be the Leviathan boils by the garden, which I think is interesting because there's a good chance that a lot of the things happen in the near future are going to be happening in this land of the Far East.
Yeah, but it's probably what's protecting the garden.
Could be. It could be.
Leviathan.
But isn't that cool that we've seen these rafts? They use these on lakes, not so much in the ocean, but on lakes to get from one city to another.
It's true.
Built of bamboo, very watertight.
Mango says you're correct. Batanes is the part of the islands up north above Abra.
Thank you, Monculus. All right, so here's the map again. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to show this map again. This is the same one that was at the beginning, just again to review. You'll see a lot of the words that we described are here on this map, and now you know what they mean in Hebrew, and you'll know why they put Hebrew words here to describe Filipino locations or Pilipina locations. You can see the Pison River there,
Pishon.
or Pison or Pishon, I guess you could say.
Well, in the Hebrew, the scene, it's a sheen, not a scene. So it's supposed to be Pishon.
Pishon.
But English, they don't know the difference between a scene and sheen in Hebrew.
Kind of like Nasa and Nasha.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be pronounced Pishon.
So if you guys remember in Genesis 2, verse 10 to 14, it describes the rivers of Eden, and we have a map. It's a little bit fuzzy, but this is also in the books from the God Culture and in their videos. They have a whole series on these rivers from Eden. I've covered it before, but for those of you who were not available to watch, I think I covered it like a year or two ago. This map is extremely helpful because what we're taught in Bible college, Sunday school about the rivers from Eden is that they're all located in the Middle East. But if they were to water the entire earth, that does not make any sense whatsoever. Also, remember, before the flood, there was no oceans. And so they were to all that's mentioned in creation is that he created rivers and fountains. So fountains would have been something like lakes. They have the fountains of the great deep, or like the source of the waters. And the fountains of the four rivers, the resource of the four rivers, they all started from the north. So you can kind of see in the middle there where it says source, and it's kind of blurry, sorry. But you can see the main river going down the center of that map. And this map would have been what Earth looked like before there was oceans, so what it looked like before the flood, and when there was only deep underground rivers to water the entire Earth. And these rivers, since they originated in the north, they would have been extremely warm because that's where the warm water came from. That had these hot water volcanoes exploding all over the place when the fountains of the deep were broken up, and so it would have been cold water coming down from above and hot water from below. So it would have just been like this boiling, chaotic thing that happened in the flood, which is why it would have been really hard to survive that, especially for people that were fully human, like Noah and his family without the ark. So this is the definition for Pishon. It means increase or overflowing. The root word push, a primitive word to spread, figuratively act proudly, grow up, be grown fat, spread selves, and be scattered. So you can see the Pishon River there. It's on both the right and left sides, but that's just because the map is supposed to wrap around like a flat earth map. But you can see the Pishon encompasses something, where it says it encompasses the entire land of Havilah, or Havilah,
Where the gold is good.
where the gold is good. Where is the land where it has the best gold on earth, where the most mining has occurred over time, where all the gold for Solomon's temple came from, where the gold that Adam got after he was kicked out of the garden was stored in the cave of treasures so the wise men could bring that to the Messiah. Anytime gold is mentioned in the Bible, the land of Ophir, the land of Tarshish, the land of Sheba, that's all Havilah. It's also known as Havilah, which is one of the sons of Joktan, and we'll see that in just a sec here. So this is the Pishon River. It's also known as the Sambatyon River in Exodus 34, verse 10. In the Targum, Pseudo-Jonathan, there's a warning to Israel where it says, I will take them from there and place them on the other side of the Sambatyon River. The rabbis even today have no concept of where this Sambatyon River is located, nor the origin of the name. This is because they are unaware of the land this references, as this is the language of that land, not Hebrew, Aramaic, Latin, or Greek. None of the Bible languages apply as the root of this word. Notice the clues they offer, which has been handed down, yet they have no idea where this is still. So this is from like a Talmud quote that he put in here. According to the Jerusalem Talmud, however, the exiles were divided into three. Only 1/3 went beyond the Sambatyon, a second to Daphne of Antioch, and over the third there descended a cloud which covered them, but all three would eventually return. This legend is also mentioned in Josephus, Flavius, and Greek author Pliny the Elder. So they basically have no idea where the Sambatyon River is. It's just another name for the Pishon River, which I think is pretty cool. And it's very specific because it is a prophecy how he will take them from there and place them on the other side of the Sambatyon River. It's very close to Shabbat, or like to rest, the restful river. So here's some other breakdowns about the Sambatyon. Sambatyon sounds like a Filipino word. Sabat in our native dialect means meet or to meet. Sambat could also be the Sabbath, worship, samba. Yon would be their, like their Sabbath or their worship. Sabat in Bisaya, which is another dialect in the Philippines, means to join. We have this in Iloilo, which is a city in the Philippines, as an Ilonggo saying, Hindi na mag-sabat. That means you are telling someone to stop or rest from giving opinions, clarifications, etc. Sambat in Tagalog is a point at which a road or river forks into two. And that's another word for the Sabbath. Like remember the Sabbath or the Sabbat day to keep it holy. Or as we say, Shabbat.
So TMI, too much information? Give it a rest?
Well, Shabbat does mean to rest.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an example of some of the coins that might have been given during the wedding that I was describing. But it also, and this word Bulawan, this is what Monculus is talking about, where he's from. This means the birth of the first daughter. Do you know why? Look at this last part of that. Awan. That's the same word we discussed as being the first daughter named in the book of Jubilees of Adam and Eve. And in Hebrew, bul means to produce, to bring forth, outgrowth. Awan means to eye or to look at. And Jubilees 4:1 is the reference. She, which is Eve or Hava, gave birth to her daughter Awan. And that's very similar to Havilah in Hebrew.
And Palawan.
And Palawan, yes. So there's Bulawan and Palawan.
So the picture in the bottom, is that a siren? Adrian, I think that's a siren, Adrian.
Did you find this picture or did I?
No, I did.
I think, yeah, you found this picture.
No, actually, you did.
I did?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember why I put this in
I
here.
just blew it up.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But I think she's it's a festival in Bulawan.
Oh, in Bulawan. Okay, that's what that is. I was
it's a
wondering.
festival in Bulawan.
Okay, that's not Palawan. That's not Awan, the first daughter. That's
No.
a festival in Bulawan.
No, that's a siren.
Okay, so Monculus said that that's where he's from, right?
Yeah,
Bulawan.
it's his hometown.
Cool. Monculus, did you ever know the meaning of your hometown? And he said it's now Bulawad or something? Or it's Bulawan?
Where's the map? Go back to the map. Up. There. So, where's...
Oh, I think it's on the other map. I put it in there. I forgot to put it in. I put it in like last minute. Go back here. There. I put it right
Bulawan, yeah. So now it's called
Bulawan. So maybe Mankulish, you can tell us where at on this map Bulawan is, because I was having a really hard time reading the writing in their books, but that's why I made all the words a little bit bigger so you guys could read it easier.
He says
Okay.
no clue.
No clue. Okay. Well, maybe someone could find out exactly where is Bulawan. I cannot see it on this map. I should have looked for it better.
Bulawad. I think I gotta go back in the text. I think he said Bulawad.
All right. Now I want to do a little bit of a deep dive because this is one of my things on my list that I really, really want to go do. I wanted to do this last time we were there in the Philippines, but we just did not have time. So we were going to make time this time to go and visit this indigenous tribe. And I'm going to read about them right now so you can see why I would find this so interesting. This is the Eskaya, less commonly known as the Visayan Eskaya, is the collective name for the members of a cultural minority found in Bohol, Philippines, which is distinguished by its cultural heritage, particularly its literature, language, dress, and religious observances. After the Eskaya first came to public attention in 1980, these cultural practices were the subject of intense speculation on the part of local journalists and amateur historians who made diverse claims about the ethnolinguistic status of the Eskaya people. The unique Eskayan language and writing system in particular has been a source of fascination and controversy. Some journalists argue that the Eskaya were historically displaced from the Middle East. And this is from Wikipedia. All right, so that gives you some clues about these people. We're going to see what they are like. So this is their language. This is just an example of some of their written language. The language and written characters of the indigenous Eskaya people can be compared to Hebrew, Ugarit, and Etruscan symbols. The people claim to be descendants of the Levitical priesthood, and their ancestors contributed to building the temple of Yah in Jerusalem. Now, wouldn't that be interesting to see who these people actually are? The Eskaya school their own children and teach them their language and script in a schoolhouse on the property in Duero, Bohol Island. We talked about Bohol a little bit more. That's where the chocolate hills are at. That's where the tiniest ape in the world is located. They live separate from society, high in the mountains, not easily accessible to the public. They claim to have a copy of the Book of Enoch in their extensive library. Can you imagine what else is in their library? This is why I just was like, oh my goodness, I really want to go and talk to some of these people, see their school. I'd love to see if we could get maybe a copy of their Book of Enoch. I don't know what else they have, but it would just be so interesting to see what they have preserved there.
Okay, so Mango says Bulacan is the first province above Metro Manila.
Oh,
So
okay.
So kind of above Manila, so middle of
Bulawan.
Luzon.
Bulawan.
Well, it's called Bulacan now.
Oh, okay. And
Bulawan is called now Bulacan.
Sherry looked it up and she's saying Bulawan is, okay, I see what that is. Thank you, Sherry, for all that information. Capital of Maguindanao del Sur province in the Philippines, located in the island of Mindanao.
Oh no, that's Buluan.
Oh,
But
okay.
the W is missing because
Oh, okay.
Mindanao is not Luzon.
Oh, I see. That's
Yeah.
right. The name sounds very similar, though. Bulawan, Bulacan,
Yeah, and
Bulawan.
that was where Mango's hometown was at. I gotta trust Mango when he knows what he's talking about. Bulacan, which is now called Buluwan. Or was
Oh.
Buluwan, now called Bulacan, I think.
Oh,
What he
I
said
see.
earlier.
Okay, but Sherry looked up the modern day Bulawan, so that's a different
That's
location,
Buluan.
but the same meaning, though.
Yeah, missing the W. So,
All right. They claim, okay, so this is more about the Eskaya people. The Eskaya stories are fundamental to the community's understanding of itself, particularly its origins, belief systems, and practices. One legend tells of how the group first arrived in Bohol from Sumatra. I thought that was interesting. Their first leader, Dangko, had 12 children who settled near Antequera before moving east. Various other Eskayan legends recount the stories of Boholano, kings, and heroes. A few of these stories even make reference to actual historical figures such as Jesus Christ, Datu Sikatuna, I'm not sure who that is, Ferdinand Magellan, the explorer, and Francisco Dagohoy Sandrijas. As part of their cultural education, students must transcribe 5 of these texts into lined textbooks at the Eskaya schools. I would love to see these textbooks because I want to see what they said about Yeshua, what they say about Magellan, just see their library. I mean, I bet you they have things about the Magi, because they talk about their kings, the Boholano kings, and the kings that came from the Far East. In Revelation of the Magi, it tells about 12 of these so-called kings. And if this was their origin, if they have any more information about that, I just thought that would be so neat. I want to bring them a copy of the Revelation of the Magi also, so they can see if their writings line up with that. In the book of Genesis, chapter 10, the brother of Peleg, whose father was Eber, the origin of the word Hebrew, traveled from Misha, that's in Iran, to the Far East, to the Mount of the East, along with 12 sons, all mentioned in the Bible. And this is in Genesis 10 again. Peleg was Abraham's ancestor, and Yoktan was the ancestor of the people of the Far East. Ophir, Sheba, Havilah, their names included in his sons who are mentioned in the Bible. And if you want to read all 12 of those guys, you can look in Genesis chapter 10. Some of the more unusual proposals are that the Eskaya people are a Semitic, I mean like a Shemite, proto-Christian tribe. They possess the lost book of Enoch. They are descended from the builders of King Solomon's temple. Their existence proves the imminence of a second Messiah in Bohol, and that they guard esoteric secrets. Yeah, that makes me want to go and see them. Want to see what their secrets are. So this is an example of some of their buildings they have in among the Eskaya tribe. Some of their guys, you notice that they wear a certain type of shirt. Do you know what that type of shirt is called, honey?
Barong Tagalog.
Barong Tagalog.
The Barong Tagalog.
It's kind of like a see-through material, and Noble has one of these.
It's embroidered in a way and very ornate. I bet you Mango has one too.
Yeah, it's very common for Filipino men to use these when they're going to weddings or other occasions, celebrations.
Yeah, it's kind of like the formal attire for Filipinos.
So you see all these guys are wearing that over their regular clothes. I wonder if it originated with the Levites. That would be like a cool Levitical thing for them to wear.
Jason Pasco asks, what if Eskaya is Eshkaya?
Oh.
That's a possibility, Jason.
Yeah, it could be. Like Ish even is man.
Ish is the I, but the similar sound.
Yeah. That's cool. Oh, see, Monculus was married in one. All right. Yeah.
He's a true Filipino.
So if you want to see more, there's several YouTube videos. I just happened to pull this thumbnail off of one on YouTube. If you want to look more and research more about these Eskaya people, this looks like a really good video. I haven't watched it yet, but you can see their writing over there on this thumbnail. And you can see that their traditional dress, I mean, to me, the traditional dress, even just like their little headband thing that they have on it, reminds me of like what the sons of Abraham would have worn in the Middle East. And maybe they just brought that over to the Philippines when they traveled. But you can see what the women would have been wearing, what the men wore. To me, it does look pretty Middle Eastern, but it does could be like symbols of the Levites.
Could be. I wasn't there, so I wouldn't know.
And then we're done.
That's
so
it.
Thank you guys. That is the end of our class today, the end of our slideshow. We appreciate all you guys participating with us and contributing so much. I think Isaac has left to go home.
No, he's still here.
Oh, he's still here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me.
All right. Noble is going to try to get the camera back on us here. So, but yeah, it looks really nice. It's a beautiful shirt that the Filipino men wear.
Got it.
Or the Filipina.
You taking a nap?
There he is.
He's tired.
Isaac came straight from work to help us. Thank you so much for helping us out.
Worked 10 hours. Woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my
Get to work at
goodness.
4. Gets off at 2. Perfect timing to set it up.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming over
for
here.
doing that.
Oh, the camera's on us. Okay,
Yeah,
so I was reading from this book. I got the excerpts that I shared today from Solomon's Treasure. You can find this free online, or the paper copy on the internet on Amazon. They have it. It's also at thegodculture.com. Also, I was sharing some information from the book that I published with them last year in November, The Mystery of the Three Kings. This is also available online in full color for free. You can read it at thegodculture.com. And if you want to see their book of Enoch, it's one of my favorite books of Enoch that's published because it's also in full color, and it's available to read free online as well at thegodculture.com. So thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah.
Make sure to keep the prayer requests in mind this week, as you're doing your daily devotions or Bible studies, or please keep everyone in prayer here in our group as well as from other ministries, and keep Tim and Anna in prayer as well. They'll be saying goodbye to their daughter, I believe, tonight. She leaves our time, so it'd be like tomorrow morning their time. And we'll
Yeah.
be looking forward to all Dion's teaching next weekend, so don't forget to be here for that.
So Mango says this is kind of nostalgic for him because we've been talking so much about the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's definitely brings back memories. Leonard Allen actually mentioned something interesting. He said linen and wool. Did you know that Lisa actually fabricates and makes linen
Shirts.
shirts, tank tops,
They're
and
knit.
they're meant for underwear.
Yeah, so
wear.
it's next to your skin,
Just-
so
and-
it's like healing.
And if you know anything about the Levitical priests, they were instructed to wear only linen.
Yeah.
So it's priestly material. And if you are interested, now this is a shameless, plug, advertising plug, but my wife, she makes these linen shirts. And if you are interested, for men or for women, she'll customize the
For your
size for
size,
you
yeah.
and the color too, because she's made me about 5 different color linen tank tops, which is so comfortable to wear. And when you wear it to bed, you have it on you to get your skin something. It has some
Has
properties,
some healing properties.
to
yeah.
it. So if
And
you,
it's knit, so it's stretchy.
oh, it's so light, it's so cool. I mean, especially now it's summertime, you want something like this. It's better than 100% cotton.
Yeah, it's 100% organic linen, and we have it available online. If you go to sacredwordpublishing.com, you can find it in their store
Or our store.
or our website,
website.
that Kaylee set up for us for
It's-
Hebrew Hawaiian. And so, like, you can order from either place, and it'll be coming. The orders come to me, so I'll be able
Just
to see
order it
who's
from us
ordering.
directly. It's easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either way.
And it's cheaper.
It's also
Is it
on my
cheaper?
eBay site. It's about the same. It's the same price.
Oh,
Order it
okay.
from whoever.
All right. Well, order it from us because then you get it direct to us, and there's not going to be any confusion. But it is worth it. I mean,
I've had about 8. I've done about 8 orders so far, so
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
popular. And it
And-
just came out last month.
and,
So.
and it costs how much?
It's including shipping and including custom make. They're $49, but that's because the material is pretty expensive, and then it takes me a while to make it custom.
Yeah.
The women's is a little bit shorter because it's meant to be like a cami to wear under your t-shirt or under your dress or whatever you're going to wear it with.
But if you want it longer, then Lisa can do
yeah,
that.
I can do it longer if you want it.
Yeah, and then,
but the women has a double layer in the front, and then it's just one in the back. And the men's is longer than the women's, and of course bigger.
But it's
but
single
just
layer,
single
too.
layer. Yeah.
Because men like to take their shirts off and show their masculine pecs.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have that.
It's like an off-white color, the one that we have available. We will have more colors available in the future, but right now they're all just off-white. And washing, you just wash it regular, but I would say hang it to dry because they kind of shrink. So want to make sure you hang those up.
So this is again a great item that's relatively new. We still have our magnets. Again, and shucks, we should have brought the bracelet upstairs.
Oh, thank you, Sherry. You posted a link earlier.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kaylee. You posted it on our Hebrew Hawaiian site. So
Yeah.
if you're interested, if you want to get a gift cert for someone or for yourself or for your loved one or whoever, whoever you want to have like an extra piece of healing clothing. It
Yeah.
comes like in a cute little bag that says linen on
Hebrew,
there in
on
Hebrew.
Hebrew. So again, we don't advertise it enough. We should.
I guess we should
But
more.
I mean, we're more about teaching. But these are products that helps again fund the ministry that we do, and sometimes even the gifts that we send out.
Yeah, if you want to support us, that's a good way to do it. We don't take donations, but if you want to buy the things we have for sale at
Yeah.
Sacred Word Publishing or are on our website that Kaylee did for us,
which is called.
which is Hebrew Hawaiian at GoDaddySites.com or HebrewHawaiian.GoDaddySites.com. Kaylee put it in the
Okay.
chat if you want to
Yep.
look that up.
So again,
Or you can send us an email and I can give you a link through the email if you can't remember any of that.
Yeah.
So.
but it's
Yeah.
cool.
But thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Do you want to close us in prayer, hon, please?
No, I'll let Isaac close.
You want to give him your mic then?
Here you go, Isaac. You up to it, son? Still tired? Oh, you got to it.
Okay. Thank you, Isaac.
No, I'm not.
No, you're
Thank
not.
you, Shua, for this amazing day. Thank you for another blessed study. It's always great to know your people and to know who our ancestors are and how we came about. Father, we praise you and glorify you for another another smooth class. It started off a little bumpy, but that was nice. It smoothed out. May everybody have a great week, full of peace and love and the rod of Yah, so that it directs us in all the ways that He wishes for us. Above all else, Yeshua, your will be done. In Yeshua's name, thank you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank
All
you,
right,
son.
guys.
All
You guys
right.
have a wonderful week. We will see you on Wednesday for Zen's show, and then we'll see you next weekend for Aldion's teaching, and that is to be announced. You'll see the thumbnail of the title of it. So,
Rolando has a question.
oh, are those linen shirts like Gabara with the pleats and 4 pocket? No, I'm sorry. The linen shirts are tank tops. So I
They're
made
just
it.
simple shirts
They're
under
very
for
simple.
underwear.
Yeah, I made it to be worn under other shirts so it can be right next to your skin. So they're just the men's tank top and then the women's like a cami type of tank top. But the women's is a little shorter than the men's because I made it for the women to just wear underneath other clothes too.
Right. And,
So
thank
yeah, you can see
Manculas.
them online.
Yeah.
There's Kaylee took some great pictures of them online, so you can see what they look like.
Yep, and he did remind us of Hag Shemeat.
Speaking of-
Again, Shavuot. It's a happy holiday again. It is Pentecost.
Happy Shavuot.
So again, we just wanted to again extend to all of you the blessings from the Lord. Thank you for joining us, and we consider you guys as family. So again, Isaac saying I need to speak in this. It's supposed to be able to catch my voice wherever, but thanks again. All right, shalom
All
everybody,
right, shalom everyone.
and
Have a great week.
Alian, see you next week. Bye, moderators. Thank you again for all your help.
Thank you, moderators. We appreciate you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Shalom.